Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next 2 hours, along with Nick.
Morning.
Good morning. And Gal is here.
Good morning, everyone.
And Mike is going to join us a little later. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And this morning's show is being made possible by vMix software, Telestream's Wirecast software, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of live streaming gear. So with us in the hangout is our guest for today, Sri Peruvemba. Did I say it right, Sri?
Yep, that's close enough.
Oh, no, you say it.
No, you got it right. It's Peruvemba.
Peruvemba. Sri is the VP strategy of BeBop Sensors at www.bepopsensors.com. A world leader in wearable smart fabric sensor technology. Is based in Berkeley, California. BeBop Sensors has over 1 million sensors in daily use, making products knowable with fabric sensors that transform helmets, automotive airbag systems, drums, and more to make them smart, safer, and able to be analyzed by understanding force, location, size, weight, and shape of impacts. Wow. If I have one of those sensors, can I put it in a set of drums and suddenly I can play drums? I guess not.
Yeah, that's a very good application. We actually have drums in the market.
Wow. So, I mean, this is from a bio, but explain to us in layman terms what is that whole idea about sensors?
Yeah, so the concept is, as our CEO puts it, we're trying to connect squishy human beings with rigid computers. So we as human beings are not rigid. We are not rectangular. We are, imagine putting a device or sensor in your wrist, or chest, or your forehead, to be able to connect and obtain feedback and information that goes to computers, and then take that data and give us something back that is meaningful. That's the whole point in having sensors that are not rigid, that are not computer-like. They're not like rectangular chipsets, but they're actually fabric-based. So we make what looks like apparel. We can cut it into any shape.
Oh.
And it can be shaped to whatever contours or applications you need, and we are able to deploy them in a variety of applications, including what you cited, the drums. We call it the BeBop pad, and we actually have drums that have shipped in the marketplace in tens of thousands that use our technology.
So, what are there batteries all over your body?
No, this is very low power consuming device, so there aren't a lot of batteries in it. In fact, in one of our applications, we have a glove, and it's a universal glove, fits to everybody, and it's a very, very small battery that's embedded in the glove that you can barely see it. So we don't need a lot of power to drive our sensors.
Okay, so what does that glove do? I mean, give us an everyday use.
Sure. So a glove, one of the initial applications is, imagine a virtual reality environment. You've got a headset on, you've got very good visuals, you've got very good audio, but there's no concept of touch. So you don't know, in most of these applications, you have a hand that goes around. This is seemingly your hand, but at any given time, you have no idea where that hand is or what exactly it's doing or what it's touching, and you don't have feeling. We can make all of that happen. So in our glove, there is a sensor that's attached to every single fingertip, pretty much along the finger as well as the palm. So it'll detect things like twist and bend and stretch and so on, as well as force. So with this, we are able to give very meaningful feedback in that VR environment. So it no longer seems virtual. Right, that is one application, and obviously, you can, with the same glove, you can do many other things in applications in an industrial or medical type environment where you have people working, and you want. I'll give you an example of a weightlifter, right? As you're a professional weightlifter, you need to know where you're holding the particular weight and where you're applying force with in your hand, and accordingly you design, shape your exercises and workout so that it's optimal. So that's one application. There are literally hundreds of applications of this technology.
Interesting. What other type of applications can there? Okay, so that's a glove. I mean, you're talking about apparel. What?
Right.
That,
So we could have garments with our technology. Obviously, our entire the garment itself could be made out of our sensors because it's fabric-like. And but the idea would be we would have thin strips within the garment. Our material is flexible, it's light, and it's very suitable for a garment-like application. And what do you do with that? So you can sense information. It can sense when you're seated, where the pressures are in your back and in your legs and so on. And all of this information can be given to you both to design maybe your shoes, the backrest of your chair. You can design your car seat and so on. With that, similarly, in a sports application, in helmets and other gear, you can sense where you take, like imagine you're a football player and you're wearing a helmet. You can not only know where you get the hit, but also the amount of force. And accordingly, you can do both treatments as well as the design of those helmets so that it's most optimal by player rather than a very generic one. Similarly, in healthcare, we can put them in hospital beds, particularly for patients who have long-term care. We can sort of estimate where what side they're laying down, where the pressure points are, and design it so they're comfortable. Also in in wheelchairs and other types of medical type of applications. And simply in wearable devices, you can sense and give you useful information, including pressure, where you can detect your pulse and so on and so forth. In automotive, you can put these fabric sensors in the steering wheel. So, think of the autonomous or semi-autonomous cars that are being deployed or being experimented with now. It's very important for you to know where on the steering wheel are your hands, as well as how much pressure you're applying. And accordingly, you can design the steering wheel, control the car, give you feedback, and all of that information. And IoT is another large application for us. There are dozens and dozens of IoT type applications where you can deploy these fabric-based sensors.
very interesting. Hey guys, any questions you want to ask?
I'm just trying to think of the type of application I would look for as a consumer for this. Everything here is defined, and it's really cool about industry and and sports. But I'm trying to think. One of the things that we are moving into as a society, we're moving into a more measured. We are more measured beings, right?
Yes.
Everybody's counting their steps. Everybody's trying to know more about how they sleep. We have cameras in our homes that we use to monitor our life. So how would it affect us personally?
Well, a lot of these, you can only use this data if you get good feel for it, good sense, able to get accurate data, and that's where we come in. Our data is extremely accurate. For example, for years and years, there have been, if you go to some retail establishments, you can place your feet on this pad and it'll kind of measure your pressure, and it'll tell you how much force you're applying and which part of your leg is pushing down more than the other, and accordingly you can design insoles, you can design shoes, and so on and so forth. But they've never been very accurate. We can, in the very similar application, we can design a fabric-based sensor that'll feel this pressure. It'll give you very accurate information both in the location as well as in how much pressure you apply. Because we can do four things with our material. One is we can sense force. The other is we can sense bend, we can sense twist, and we can also sense stretch. So with this information, we can very accurately give you a sort of the signature of your feet, if you will, and then you can design accordingly. And that will just make your experience much, much better, particularly for athletes, and even just for folks like me who are not athletes, but would love to have shoes that are very comfortable, whether when I'm active or when you're just simply walking. And that's one of many, many different types of applications. You mentioned counting steps, right? And wearable devices, today they're popular. Most of the time, the only thing it does is counting steps, and that's all most people use it for.
Right.
But you can do a lot more. You can sense your pulse. You can sense where the position of your hands or your feet, or basically a part of your body, depending on what sport you're playing. And all of these information, whether you're twisting, whether you are applying force, all of this data can be very accurately conveyed, and accordingly you can adjust yourself, or the equipment you're wearing can be designed so that it's very optimal. I think this is in terms of completely understanding. First of all, the premise is we are not all built the same, right? And
Right.
so making it individualistic, and that would be the whole point in deploying these types of sensors.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying about the sensors, but how do they interface with anything that processes them, right? They're not doing anything on their own.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about fabric, a bat, where does the information go to?
Yeah. So in terms of how this is constructed, imagine, regular fabric. We have a specialized fabric material that we take and we coat with nanoparticles. And this gives us the ability to sense with our material. And we cut this fabric material into whatever shape we want, depending on the application. And in the previous example, it'll be cut to the shape of a shoe. It could be cut in whatever shape. It's very, very thin. It's about the same thickness as fabric. And that would be in turn connected with some conductive inks to whatever drive electronics that we need to interface with. The drive electronics obviously will have a processor, it would have memory, and so on and so forth. And that will detect the input from the sensor, and that data will be interpreted, and it'll give you the feedback. The feedback would usually appear in the form of some kind of visual display, or in some other form that you can utilize this data right away. Because the other interesting thing about our sensor technology is almost instantaneous. So the other day we were playing a game on a virtual reality device. A lot of these things that where, if you're shooting something, you're playing ping pong, whatever you're doing, the feedback is usually lagging a little bit, and therefore it leaves a lot to be desired. But with our sensor, it's almost instantaneous. when you're able to sense and give you the feedback in milliseconds, it seems real. And that's another advantage of this type of technology.
Well, that segues right into what I was going to bring up. How do you do you interface with any virtual reality devices at this point, like the Vive or the Oculus?
The current customers would not let us announce it yet, but in the future probably they would. But at the moment, our model is an OEM model, so we supply to OEM. They're deploying with different devices.
Cool.
And in a virtual reality set, they're actually not putting it on the headset itself. They're putting it in a glove, and the glove comes, physically it's separate. It's a wireless glove, and you just wear it in that environment, and you can see your hands and your fingers in the virtual environment, and you can go about playing the game, and it's much more realistic than without our glove.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Anybody that's ever played with virtual reality is, in the case of the Vive, you have essentially 2 joysticks, or you're playing with an Xbox or PlayStation controller. You don't really have that tactile control. So those gloves in there seems like those could be really cool.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is no amount of my words or video or images are going to convey this well. You got to try it. So when it goes into mass deployment, obviously the customers have received hundreds of these units, and they're in the process of designing them. And when they're mass deployed, you can actually try it for yourself, and then you would see. Most of the time, the reaction we get is "Wow."
The only feedback you're mentioning here is visual feedback, right? There's nothing tactile in the glove itself, nothing that gives back a reaction.
No, there is.
Yeah.
Along with the sensors, we also have haptic technology embedded in the fingertips. So when you touch something, you can actually feel it. And we have a variety of feedback from those actuators. So when you touch a wall versus you're touching a table versus you're touching some other objects, you get different kind of feedback, and that makes it much more realistic.
Ah, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So are you designing sensors for certain applications that, and then try to bring them to market and sell them to manufacturers?
One of the products that we designed by ourselves was this glove. We wanted to make an universal glove, but most of the time, like 90% of the time, customers come to us with whatever problem they're trying to solve, and we will design the sensor to match that particular type of application, rather than us designing standard products and trying to find a market for it.
I can think of something. You go to the Y and you see those guys wearing some kind of a strip, like a band around their chest that's hooked to a box. And when I asked one of them what this was, I said, "Oh, the doctor wants to see what kind of feedback they're getting from my heart, and I have to wear it. I mean, yeah, it's not comfortable. I mean, something like that. I mean, like a shirt, a T-shirt, or something could give a whole lot more than just that little bit of area that's about an inch or 2 inches wide, strapped around your body, couldn't it?"
Oh yeah, absolutely. So think of it this way. Imagine a garment that you're wearing, and let's say you're going hiking by yourself in the hills, and so the kinds of information you can sense are obviously, other than your heartbeat and your your general well-being. You can sense the stress levels. You can sense if you're hurting. The information can be conveyed. Imagine you're a mountain climber and you're climbing um, on Mount Everest, for example, and there it's obviously it's going to be extremely cold, and so you need to keep your body at a certain warmth, and all of this information can be sensed, and it can be transmitted to your team, or to a medical professional, or some other place where they can both give you directions, they can give you help, and that sort of a thing. So this can be extremely useful from something that's mildly interesting, whether it's counting steps or measuring a pulse, all the way to life-saving kind of devices.
Yeah, so like when Gal was asking earlier about the interface, I mean, obviously there's a whole lot more that has to go along with that garment than just wear the glove and plug a wire in and or wirelessly to your phone and it does everything. No, I mean you have to have the program in the background to take advantage of that glove. How thick is the material?
The material is extremely thin. It's less than half a millimeter thick.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like fabric. It's actually thinner than my shirt.
Interesting.
What is
Oh.
the largest application you've produced up until now?
In terms of volume, the musical instruments are where we have deployed the most. We've shipped over 2 million sensors in that application, including the drum that we call BeBop pad, and there's a whole bunch of other musical instruments that use this. The other applications where we started deploying are in automotive type application, both in a car seat as well as steering wheel. We have started deploying them in some medical applications, and the glove is relatively new for us. We only started working on it in the past year, and we've started deploying that as well. The glove goes both in this virtual reality environment, also for a non-entertainment type applications, a much more of an industrial type application where the gloves are used in an environment where you can sense, how much a particular worker is pushing against something or how they're using their hands, and accordingly design both their work as well as get very useful information, so we know that what the workers' hands are sensing, and design the whole experience so that it's much more comfortable for them, both from a health perspective as well as from an end result on their activities concerned.
And
Okay, and
go ahead,
yeah,
Gal.
well, my next question was about cost for a consumer end. Like, is it starting at this point as something very, very, very expensive, or is it something that we'll start to see consumers starting to purchase?
So our material itself is not very expensive because fabric based, and we make them in rolls, and then we deploy them. Most of the expense comes in the actual design and for a specific application. Since we've targeted consumer applications with our gloves and some of the others, we have to be extremely price competitive. So to give you an idea, a glove in a virtual reality environment historically has been priced at about $1,000, and it's got a cable connected from the glove to a computer and so on. We make a wireless glove, and it will do much better than any of the traditional products, and it's priced at a fraction of that. So we're very, very competitive price wise, and also think of some of these applications where you need a lot of material, and you also need to deploy them in millions of units. Like, for example, in an IoT application, you're no longer talking about tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. You're talking about millions or even billions of deployments, and it has to be extremely price sensitive. And fortunately, we are able to do that because of the type of material and type of the way we are building it.
Oh, interesting.
Sri, Tommy in the chat wants to know how can it be used in underwear?
I'm sure you can figure out a variety of different applications. But to give you a practical application on something that's deployed in car seats. When we design car seats, particularly for infants, it's extremely important that you design it in a manner that it's very safe. So you could imagine in the future, instead of deploying it in a car seat, you could put in a child's underwear, right, or a diaper. And when a child is seated in a car, in one of the in an automobile car seat, you can sense where the position on the seat, as well as how much force the child is exerting, and where the forces are applying against the child's body. And this kind of data is extremely useful both for designing those car seats as well as making sure this is extremely safe. So most of what we do today is based on some very rough calculations, but with this kind of sensing technology, you can be extremely accurate. You can get a map, a contour of where the child's body presses against the car seat. So that would be a good application from a.
There you go. There you go, Tommy. Diapers. Look forward to that, Tommy. No, I can think of one thing that sounds similar to what you're talking about. That's been around for some time. It's all these Dr. Scholl stations in stores where you go and you put your feet in there, and it sees where you press and where you need support and things like. Is that kind of the same principle?
It's the exact same principle. We are maybe overkill for that application because we are very accurate compared to what's being deployed in the market in these different types of pads where you can sense the pressure as well as the location of your feet. But imagine the same thing in the doctor's office. They would need that level of accuracy both to sense or to detect what kind of problems you're having with your feet, as well as help you design a solution, right? A lot of times they're designing something that fits your feet accurately so that you don't feel that same kind of pressure and pain. And but certainly we can deploy it in a retail environment to replace the technologies that exist today.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, Sri, I know that this is now 6:30 your time, and you're going golfing.
No, I'm going to go play cricket.
Oh yeah, but cricket. That's right. Sorry, cricket. Guys, is there anything else quick that you want to bring up? Because he needs to go and tee off.
No, in this case, the ball is not stationary. There's a person rushing at me, and the ball will come at you sometimes at 100 miles an hour, and you got to strike it.
Well, you see, you can give that guy some gloves with sensors, and you would know beforehand it's going to come towards you. See?
True. And I could have sensors in my bat, so I'll know where I'm hitting the ball.
All right, Sri. Thank you very much, and thanks for waking up and doing this with us here that early, your time.
You're welcome, and thank you for the opportunity.
Sure. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Bye.
joining us.
Have a great show. Bye.
And for those of you that ask for the website, it's right. It's posted right there. www.bebopsensors.com. That's very interesting. Nick, you're going to be able to play Dungeons and Dragons with that? No.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, we did our 5-hour session 1 last night. That was a hell of a process.
Wow. 5 hours.
We did our 5-hour first session, and we didn't really accomplish a whole lot.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Okay.
So, good morning.
Good morning to who? Oh yeah, good morning.
Oh,
that's right.
I mean, did we even give the call-in number this morning?
No.
I don't know. We're all out of whack now. And it's not because I'm tired.
It's not.
This is Amnon's fault.
We're not used to having something like that. You know, more normally.
I'm not used to being on the show at exactly 9 o'clock. I normally try to pop in a couple minutes.
I know. Oh well. So what else is happening?
Well, Tuesday. This Tuesday, a crew is climbing our tower down here in Wilmington.
Hopefully, the weather will permitting, right?
Bite your tongue, Amnon.
No, look, there's nothing I can do about it or you.
Yeah.
That's all right. When are you going to PAX?
Oh, PAX is in about 3 weeks. PAX is, let's see. We leave in just about 18 days. 30th, we leave.
And you're going to be in Seattle?
Well, never been out to the West Coast.
Well,
Yeah, going out for PAX West, which is one of the there's not many big gaming events in the US every year. Obviously, you have the E3 show out in Vegas. That's a large event, but that's more for um, industry press than it is kind of hybrid what we are, which is obviously enthusiasts, and we do some stuff with Infection Podcast. That's more for industry press. But PAX is kind of a good hybrid. It's mostly meant for consumers, but the people that make decisions, the PR people, and even some of the developers are available to talk about the game, which I think is pretty cool.
yeah, but you have to be there too. I mean, consumers or not.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's fun. It's kind of it's a cool hybrid event that's available.
Gal, what's new with you?
Well, not much, but I learned one of the cord cutting questions I got asked a lot last past week is about Premier League, the soccer, football from
Mhm.
Europe,
Mhm.
and this has interesting implication in the UK. When we're talking about cord cutters, piracy, and how the media outlets are battling this. In the US, they haven't gotten yet to charging the viewers, those who consume the pirated material, unless they're sharing it, right? In the UK, apparently they're trying to crack down on the sources who are streaming, the sellers of the boxes that are pre-packed with pirated channels, and with the consumers who are viewing those streams. In the UK, it is illegal to view a stream that costs money to view legally, and if you get it for free from some undisclosed source, it doesn't really matter what the source is, you are liable.
Wow.
And not only liable, they are being pursued. This article stated there was one interesting case. So this is about a case of, this was a Scottish person, but this was about somebody who was selling the boxes
Mhm.
between March 2013 and July 2015. The operators generated more than 750,000 pounds through the illegal activities, and they were pursued, and they're looking at 5 years in jail.
But these are the sellers.
These are the sellers. I'm trying to find, there was one distinct, I read it yesterday.
I mean, for the sellers, yeah, I can see that.
So
But
what's
to go
interesting
after
about the law
Go ahead.
is the law that they passed incorporates the in this case it's the owner of the Premier League rights to broadcast. They are allowed to request from ISPs the identity of the streams. They have a really broad and free hand in pursuing the individuals and taking them and charging them in courts. Yeah, and they're talking about rather high fines and maybe even jail time.
I guess they're trying to create a situation where if there are no consumers, then who are you going to sell it to, kind of thing.
Yeah, they're going after the end user as well as everybody else in the chain.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're not really interested in the end user when it comes to pursuing justice, but with the laws allowing them to do that, that is a pressure mechanism that you can use. So
Yeah.
where did you get it from?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, but they're cracking on it really hard.
Very interesting. We'll
So
see.
US right now, when it comes to law, is a lot more forgiving to the end user and is more focused on whoever is supplying the pirated content.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it might eventually become Napster again. So need to be very, very careful.
There's a Premier League match going on at like 11 o'clock today. I'm sure plenty of pirates.
Oh, I'm sure.
What about, how do they deal with that with bars and pubs and stuff? So I assume there's some legal workaround.
Well, I think
You're not technically paying for that at that point, right?
yes and no. I think the subscription that the bar is buying for cable TV is different than that of a home. It's like a business subscription.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that that's also true here in the States. It's it's how the cable TV manages that cable satellite.
There's something here that, I mean, it's not exactly, I don't know if this is for cord cutting or what, but it says that Google has removed the open source Ahoy extension from the
Ahoy?
Chrome's Ahoy. It's Ahoy exclamation. From the Chrome store with little explanation. The tool facilitated access to more than 1,700 blocked sites in Portugal by routing traffic through its own proxies. So it's like they were blocking some sites, and people figured out through an extension how to get to that through proxy. So Google removed the app. I wonder what's the 1,700 blocked sites. I mean, there's a lot happening in the web presence. A lot happened this past week with removing, banning, blacklisting.
Shall we talk about that?
The what?
Shall we talk? Do we want to
Sure,
talk about that?
absolutely. We need to talk about that.
So,
This is very disturbing.
It is very disturbing, and what Amnon's bringing up is the essential deplatforming of Alex Jones and Infowars. Anybody that's followed, or anybody that know a couple problems that we're not going to get into all of it, but Alex Jones is known for having some kind of crazy theories on how things go down. Nevertheless, incredibly popular, millions of viewers. I don't know what he had, 5.5, 6 million subscribers on YouTube, a couple 100 million views on the channel total. Twitter, a couple 100,000 followers, so on and so forth. And last Sunday night into Monday morning, YouTube, Facebook, and
LinkedIn,
and Spotify all at essentially, and Apple. That was the big one.
And Apple, yeah.
The Apple podcast app all banned him. All banned him at the same time. So all of his YouTube account was pulled down. All of his videos were deleted. All of his Facebook pages and associated Facebook pages were deleted. His app was removed out of the Apple Podcast app. Now, that may not sound like a big deal. Hey, I don't use the Apple Podcast app. Big problem. Most podcast apps use the iTunes directory to pull their directory, and iTunes had marked that podcast as dead. So it dropped out of almost every podcast app out there. So over the last week or so, more and more services, including MailChimp Even just yesterday, Discuss, which is the comment system add-on that is very popular on the internet, the QUS or something like that. I don't know how it's spelled. Discuss was in there, and they essentially the tech giants have all kind of agreed that they would like to essentially ban him from the internet. I don't really know of another way to put it, but they are essentially banning him from the internet. The only social network that he still has access to are is Twitter. Everything else is gone.
And the only reason Twitter is probably
Because they're under investigation
Yeah.
by Congress over
Right.
a shadow banning. They're not going to ban him at this point in time.
You know,
Um,
you're talking about the fact that if you're on the Apple podcast directory or iTunes,
Yeah.
and they ban you or they kick you out, then you're lost because that's where everybody is. But that's again, that is a situation that we created.
well, we
We
didn't though.
we agreed with Apple and we say, yeah, we'll let you. But theoretically, if I set up today and remember, RSS is it's not that the program itself, all the podcasts and the material is not there. It's just a pointer to where where it is. So
Correct.
if I set up today a server with a directory of such and allow people to put their podcasts on it, that will allow everybody to use it again. But it's worthless when I do it because nobody knows that I did it.
Correct.
It takes years to build it up. Now there's Podbean. There were some other ones that went out of business.
Well, those are more Podbean and Libsyn are hosting servers, and there are plenty of podcast apps that do host their own directories. So
Right.
that's the thing that still happens. But a lot of apps still pull from iTunes because they have the largest directory of podcasts. I
Right.
mean, even an app like Pocket Casts, which I've gotten a refund on all of my devices, they said it got pulled because of the iTunes thing, which was fine, but then they said they're going to continue to remove it from their platform because they don't agree with the content, and that's a huge problem. I mean,
That's the main problem.
I work in traditional media. I mean, I work for a FCC licensed FM radio station. We have rules and regulations on what we can and can't say. We are governed by federal law on what we can and can't say. I cannot go on the air and say the F word. I mean, that's not true. I can, but we'll get fined, and we would be we could potentially lose our license, which would put us out of business. The whole reason podcasting is so great and YouTube and all these other platforms are so great is you can say and do whatever the hell you want, and there's the internet police aren't there to shout you down and tell you you can't. Now obviously there is reason you can't. If I go on YouTube and start saying, oh, I'm gonna blow up Amnon's house and I'm making threats against his life and his family, that's a little bit of a different story. But for the most part, the I was under the assumption, and maybe that's my fault, that the whole reason that new media and podcasting and digital media was so amazing is because there was no regulation. There was no boogeyman to come and tell you to shut up when you were saying something that the general public or the public mass didn't agree with. And it appears that that is not the case, which is incredibly terrifying, if you ask me.
The only way that I can see solving this kind of problem again is the word that we'll probably hear again and again is decentralizing.
Yep.
You can't allow one organization to control that. And in essence, that's what Apple is doing. It's like if there are many grocery stores in town, but everybody is going to one because they know, okay, they have it. They don't even check others, even though they probably do have what you're looking for. Everybody is going, and it's like 99.9% of shoppers go to that store. That store closes. It's almost like, oh, now what do I do? Well, you can actually go to another grocery store, but in the meantime, while that store was getting all the shoppers, the other stores stopped ordering a lot of the stuff because they were not selling it. So it's it's not exactly the same, but that's what it is. There are other directories, but unless you know of them, it won't work. Now,
Well, uh,
go
Gary's
ahead.
making a point chat saying Jones is a Nazi.
Oh,
Now,
sheesh.
but hold on. Even if he is, let's just say he is. Okay, fine. While I think I can speak for the group here and say we don't support that, doesn't matter. I mean, that's what makes
It-
the internet and this new stuff so great is you can say crazy stuff, and unless you're threatening people's lives or
right.
doing things that are illegal, which if sponging Nazi propaganda, I don't believe is illegal. I mean, there may be some statute, but I don't think it is. That there's nothing illegal about that. You may not agree with it, but it's not illegal, and that's what's so scary. He's not
And that's
breaking
what
the law.
and that's what makes this country great is because you can stand up and say I'm this and I'm that, and there's nothing that anybody can do. I mean, if you want to put on Nazi uniform and walk out there, nobody can do anything. It's free. You have that freedom to do this as long as you're not threatening, like Nick said.
Yes, and so that's the thing is saying that you believe that he's a Nazi or whatever isn't really a valid point because having a radical opinion, I really don't think matters a hell of a lot on
It
the internet.
doesn't matter. It's just like I can say, well, yeah, Gary is 6'10". Yeah, so he's
It's just
6'10", so he's six. Yeah. What's the difference? It's the same.
Isn't there all of the debate, right? While it is important, and freedom of speech is really important, and
Mhm.
it is one of the cornerstones of American culture.
Absolutely.
He's still using, right? This is I think this is the one part that somehow is always missed from the conversation. Everything we're using, even for free, even Hangouts right now, right?
Mhm.
It is private property of
absolutely.
some corporation.
Hmm.
Okay, so and everything that we're talking about whether deregulation or regulating, that's in public space, but we are in private property,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. So
So Apple, I mean, they can change their Apple cares about the consumers, or more of the consumer's pocket, right? That's what they care about. They care that they will continue and provide content to their consumers, and that their consumers will continue to buy. So the only voting power with Apple is continuing to buying the products or not.
Mhm.
That's the only voting power. There is nothing else. Everything else in the media, everyone discussing this is just noise. Has zero effect because even the government can't force them, especially with free speech. It's their free speech because it's their private property. It's their box that they're standing on.
Gal, you can't say that everybody else discussing it is nothing, just noise. Because if you don't discuss it, the people who are not aware and may be able to impact the situation by not buying this product will never know that such a thing happened.
now, but
Well,
hold on, no,
that's
but Val was making the point, and it is an absolutely accurate point. You've got people on a side of the argument sponging, oh, free speech, he's being censored. That's not true. You don't have free speech on private property.
exactly.
Now, that's not the argument. The argument I'm more making than anything else. Again, Apple absolutely has the right to ban and do whatever the hell they want with their property. The same way Amnon, if he didn't want me ever part of this show again, he would have the absolute right to
Right.
not communicate
Yeah.
with me and not offer to have me on.
Right.
The thing that the big issue here, in my opinion, is all of these big tech companies all working in conjunction to
Oh, I
ban a
agree.
single user a long time. And now you start getting to the argument of, do these platforms need to actually be regulated by the federal government, like Comcast, like cable and phone and everything else? I think that's the serious argument that we need to start talking about. Are these public platforms enough now where there needs to be some type of government insight so that something like this doesn't happen to somebody else.
Yeah, but government insight, even on cable or phone, never goes into content. It goes into ways of operation, but it never goes into content.
Well,
And
it hasn't though. I don't think Comcast or Time Warner has tried to ban a website from their network. If they did, I'd almost guarantee you the FCC would step right in and say, "Hold on a second, you can't ban the 9/11 was an inside job.com. You can't ban that from your network." I mean,
That's
I would assume. I don't know. That hasn't happened yet, but
and I will even take it farther than that and say that, yeah, it's okay to, we don't want hate speech. Okay, you don't want hate speech. That's fine, but take it across the board. What we're seeing in the last week is an effort to shut down conservative outlets. When is the last time we heard about any kind of a liberal show or website or whether that was shut down? Here we go. Gab. Gab is Twitter-like, but they started the whole thing in order to allow people to say what they want because Twitter will not. For the right, alt-right, call it whatever. Now, there was something there about talking about Nazis, or I don't know, about Jews, and Microsoft that hosts Gab's website told them, you have to remove those 2 posts or we're going to shut you down.
Crazy.
Well, I mean, this is now, Gal, getting into the content and saying, we don't want that content. And there was nothing. I mean, I always say, get thicker skin. I mean, I don't like being Jewish, I don't like going there and read that stuff. I mean, it's repulsive. But am I going to be personally assaulted, not assaulted, but hurt by this? No. I mean, these people will say it. If they don't say it here, they say it behind our backs. They're saying it in back rooms. They say it everywhere. The thing is, just get thicker.
I say this real quick, Amnon. That's the difference between saying and doing something.
Right. Absolutely.
Doing bad about Jews or saying something pro-Nazi is one thing. Making an action is another thing.
That's a different story. I'm not talking about threats. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And as far as I know, there were no threats in those 2 posts.
No, I looked at them.
This is the thing that is bad. It's happening again and again, and and it may be, I don't think it's a fluke. It may be just the way that it's happening, but it's right before the midterms. And here's Alex Jones, who was bringing a lot of information to people, whether it's correct or not correct, or lies or not lies, doesn't matter. If you want to believe it, you believe it. And the thing about Alex Jones is he at least had his followers come to the website Infowars.com to watch him. So if you go to your RSS and there is nothing there, at least you would know, oh, but let's go to Infowars.com and see what's available there, because maybe something is broken.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. What's so funny is that after Apple took him off the iOS or the Apple Podcast app, his standalone app, which previously nobody really used because everybody just was subscribed to the podcast, I guess, shot up to the number 3rd most downloaded news app in the store, and it's number 1 on Android right now. It was above CNN, Fox, and MSNBC on iOS, and it was the top news app on the Android app store.
And they removed that too, right?
No, that's the thing that's it's total BS with this whole argument, is they want to say that he's hate speech, but they're not deleting his app. They just deleted his podcast. There's so many inconsistencies here. And that's what's really pissing me off about this whole argument. If you're gonna ban him, get rid of it. But how can you ban his podcast, but leave his his app, which is literally just his podcast in the iOS and the Google Play Store. There's just no consistency here. And I mean, you talk about collusion. You've got big tech companies all working in unison to ban a single voice. And I mean, the thing with this stuff is it starts with somebody crazy like Alex Jones, and then the next thing you know, it's you and I because we've said something or we've pissed somebody off.
Didn't Mike post
scary.
something about the local conservative journalist that was also banned from? There was something he put in the forum. I don't remember what it was, but it's a problem. Let's put it this way: it is a problem, and this is why, again, people always ask me why don't you tell people to go to YouTube to watch? Why don't you tell people to go to Facebook to watch the shows? And I said, no, I want people to come here. We will send it to YouTube, but we will embed it here. And what you're seeing under the video right now with all those channels, channel 1 through channel 6, I mean, I don't have those CDNs. They're not mine. You can see what's there. MX is for Mixer. YT is for YouTube. These are coming. You don't have to go there and look for it. You are here. You join in the chat and you watch it here. If something is broken, you know to come to Computers 2K Now or to Nissan Communications and see what's going on. Now, if YouTube and Mixer and Stream Me and Twitch and everybody is going to decide, you know what? We are not going to give Nissan Communications a platform to broadcast the shows. Now I'm in trouble. Now I only have one that I can do through my own servers, and everybody has to watch it on one channel. And if my provider, even though I'm an ISP, I have a provider, decides, you know what, I'm not sorry. I mean, we were told to not allow you to do it. Now it's in trouble. Now, couldn't Alex, Nick, let me ask you this. Couldn't Alex get a radio station license and have it really terrestrial and then have it? I know it doesn't happen overnight, but that way, what can be done?
Well, he's got radio affiliates. He's on 70 or 80 stations across the country.
Yeah.
And he's on shortwave radio as well.
But he could,
expunging his products.
but
so he is on those platforms already. And no, you're absolutely right. I mean, he is on other platforms. It's just it's and I don't believe, I'm not trying to over exaggerate here. It's honestly terrifying that all of those sites can work in unison to essentially ban somebody from the internet. I mean, that is freaky as hell.
I mean, you know, everybody's always talking about the fact that, look, in this country, they shut down the internet because they're having elections.
Yeah.
They
happen here.
They pulled the switch on, they have a kill switch in certain countries where they can actually go and kill the internet. I mean, there are smaller countries. Over here, I don't think it's possible. But imagine that all these guys, all this big tech decides, you know what, we're going to have our own kill switch. And when we send out that notice that comes out like the ESA, what do you call it? The emergency service thing on TV? Whatever. The thing that lets you know about weather and when
the EAS system? Yeah.
Yeah. Then everybody kill all your services. Well, that will sort of accomplish why other countries are killing the internet. They're not killing the internet so people will not be able to watch a movie. They're killing the internet because they don't want people to campaign, to send messages, hey, do this, or to know that it's going in a certain way, or whatever. It's trying to squash what's going on. In most of these countries that do that are actually dictatorial. And that's a problem. I mean, we don't want this here, do we? And if
No.
people don't believe that it can happen, believe me, it can happen.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that's what a lot of the argument that's being missed here is let's take the man out of the equation. I know that's tough. Everybody's got bias.
Yeah.
It's hard to take the man out of the equation. But just take the man out of the equation and just think about the fact that big tech all in unison essentially erase somebody from the internet.
Right.
That's pretty scary. I mean, that's more of the argument.
But I wouldn't go.
Go
First
ahead.
of all, I agree. The idea of these companies working in collusion and doing something together, and that the objective was to eliminate something from their networks, right? That is terrifying. Okay, I don't care for Alex Jones, but that's terrifying. As for erasing him from the internet, I think they just gave him a real boost, right? Effectively,
True.
right? Bad press is press, and he's definitely getting a boost right now. I don't know what the long-term effect will be. It's definitely hurting him, at least in the short run. I don't know what the long-term effect will be, but I don't know. I mean, the fact that just looking at what Wikipedia, when they come into agreement on when the people that manage a certain page on Wikipedia come to agree on a certain phrasing, right? It's troubling.
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, and Apple all removed content by Alex Jones, right? So you got the three mastering puppet masters of media, of digital media, working together on one single goal, and that goal is squashing someone. And I agree, that's terrifying.
So now I think you have to start moving into the conversation. And anybody that has knows my political beliefs, and knows that I'm not a fan of regulation in almost any respect. But I think you do have to start looking at some type of argument for regulation of big tech. I don't know how you do it. I don't know if you do it, but I think it's something that needs to start being entertained. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where the conversation starts, but it's. I mean, what transpired over the last 7 days is absolutely freaking insane.
Well,
And
I
in
think
so many different ways.
I think the solution isn't regulation, because with regulation you get centralized again. You still have a body that monitors everything. And when you're talking about stuff like free speech, the solution is decentralization, complete decentralization, is blockchain decentralization, right? It's the idea of not having a single point of failure. So up until now, it has never succeeded, but there are a few decentralized sort of social networks, right? That some competitors to the ideas of Facebook and Twitter that are not based on a single point of failure.
Mastodon.
What's that?
Mastodon is a great example. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mastodon social network.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I remember what I'm focused more is on the technology side, and I remember this was like when Facebook and Twitter were just booming, 2006, 2007. Then a small group came up with Diaspora. It exists out there. I can't say it's big media or it's a real competitor, but it is a decentralized. You can run your own server, and when you hook up your server to the network of other servers, then you're in this huge decentralized social network. And I'm sure it's not the only one, right? It's just the one I remembered. That is probably the solution. But the thing is, with decentralized stuff, is it rarely gets to become mainstream because it is not backed up by huge amounts of money. It's not backed up by commerce. It's not because it is uncontrollable.
Well, I mean, this is the way that you want it. You don't want it to be controlled. And I mean, and let's go back to the RSS.
Well, this is the way we want it, you and me, right?
Yeah,
But the
right.
person who's selling his, I don't know, earphones, he wants to work in a controlled environment.
Well, I mean, we're talking here now about information dissemination. Right now.
Yeah,
So-
but somebody needs to pay for it, right?
Yeah. So my solution, and again, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. I mean, if you set up a server to allow people to list their RSS files, and another person and you have a network of places like that, which is no big deal. I mean, it's really Apple did it not because Apple has a lot of resources. It doesn't take much resources.
Well, they did it because they had the iPod and they were the first people that
Yeah, right.
promoted podcasting.
And
by
then-
default, yeah.
And then the content creators, that's where the problem may be, will have to go and list it in all these different places. Because again, you don't want to create a situation where, okay, I'll list it with Delta Force and Delta Force will send it to all the other ones. No, now you have somebody like Delta Force that can control it and say, you know what, I'm not going to send it anymore. No, you want to control it. The content creator wants to control it. And it's no big deal. You can go and you can list it on different ones. Then people will get used to say, okay, now I want to get a notification of this. I can go to any of these places and get the RSS notifications. Now it's decentralized. If one of them went out, no big deal. There are 100 more. And
Well, you're talking about decentralized, the current state of decentralizing your content, and that's
Yeah,
okay. And that's
yeah.
post to everywhere. That's fine. What I'm saying is, up until now, the big outlets, right, they are not decentralized themselves. They're all relying on central control.
Correct.
But I'm saying there's an alternative to that of having a big outlet, a big service, but it being completely decentralized. It's just I'll give you one point that is completely decentralized today. Email.
Yeah.
Email is completely decentralized.
Right.
Right? It doesn't matter on where my server is, as long as you have my address, it'll get to me. And nobody can stop it, not really. Only the site that's hosting my server, but then I can move that and I can redirect the naming scheme.
Right.
And
Yes.
right. That's what that is what I mean by decentralizing.
Right.
I'm talking about the technological solution of decentralizing, of my audience knowing to get me at a certain address and me being able to move that address around if needed, if I'm blocked on one side.
Well, yeah, but when it comes to RSS, you can't do that.
But it's
Because
current
the
implementation.
whole idea is that your RSS and you're notifying the iTunes store.
Yeah,
That's
RSS,
how it was set up. That's the problem.
Then let's not trust RSS. That's not the problem.
Absolutely. You see, that's what I'm talking.
Let's have a podcast app that does this decentralized index.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Is instead of sending it just to Apple and have everybody go to Apple, you send it to different places. And then when the time comes and one of them drops you say, oh, okay, I'm going there. Just like you right now have the ability to watch the video from different places. If one of those CDNs falls out or decided, we're going to block Nissan Communications, just click on another one and you have it.
Mhm.
It's in different places, so we can't be stopped unless all of them collude at the same time. That's the thing. And what are the chances? Next to none. But it is, nevertheless, it is a situation that if it succeeds, and it did succeed this week, other organizations are going to say, "Oh, you know what? We can do something like this because we don't like Joe Schmo."
Well, it's a good test. It was a great test to prove that, hey, how can we deplatform somebody off
Yep.
of the internet?
Yep.
They
But
did it.
but as you said, it backfired on them, right?
Well, it backfired in some respects, but what's going to happen when
Yeah.
Cloudflare, who's hosting his DNS now, decides, oh, we don't want to host your DNS anymore, and he's got to now hack up and move everything off of Cloudflare?
Right.
I mean, this the thing is, this is a never this rabbit hole is so far. I mean, what's going to happen when he can't find somebody that will host his website?
Go to out
I'm
of the
guessing you'll
country.
always have one.
You would guess, but I mean, you've got all these major. You've got Azure sending takedown notices to Gab.ai for content. I mean, where the hell does it stop?
That's ridiculous, and it'll probably stop eventually. When right now, Azure's and Amazon and Google, I think those are the huge
Mhm.
cloud providers. Even though there were none of them were probably Amazon, none of them were the first, right? I mean, the first were ISPs like Delta Force, right? That's where it started, where was the small data centers
Mhm.
localized, but now there's these mega stores, there's these Walmarts of hosting, and so he would probably not be able to use any of the Walmarts.
Yeah.
Because Walmart decided to buy only the CDs with the
Mhm.
without the advisory sticker, right? This is like the censorship music discussion in the 80s. It is,
It's a problem.
as long as we are on a private platform, right? Speech is not free speech.
Well, I mean, I like what John said in the chat. He says the First Amendment gives you the right to speak freely. It does not require that I give you a platform.
Right.
Which makes sense. If you don't believe in something and you have your own private, that's what I was talking with Sean, and I said, then what we really need to have in this country is one ISP that will be run by the government, not a private company. It will be a government-run ISP. Then there is no such thing as no. I'm going to drop you because I don't like you, because that's what they're doing right now. It's I'm going to ban you because we don't like you.
But it started that way.
Yeah, I know.
ARPANET is government owned.
Well, no. But in addition to everything else, have the government start their own ISP and people like that. It's just like what you do when you can get insurance. Then there's one insurance company that will take you, even if you have tickets and you pay more.
General.
I mean, it's not that I'm against the idea. It's just working with a paid ISP customer service today is hell. I'm just thinking of how it. Think of the DMV line and now put it in ISP world.
Well,
there's got to be something where I mean, you are now, and we haven't even, we're not going to on this show because it's a technology show. I'll cover this tonight on my radio show at 7. But you're talking about politically motivated blocks against a user.
That's a problem.
Now you look at FEC violations and now you're looking at dealing with affecting voter outcomes. I mean, this thing goes way deeper than just
it's
somebody.
A Pandora box.
Absolutely, it's Pandora's box.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. If we'll
Yeah,
see
we'll wait
blocks
and
or
see,
we'll see more control
there is
over.
Over 1,000 people were blocked over the weekend. Gavin McInnes was banned from Twitter. Another podcast, the H3H3 podcast, was pulled off YouTube Live for discussing the Alex Jones getting banned situation. I mean, this is nuts.
Yeah,
this is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. All right, let's go to something a little bit, on the positive side.
Somebody needs to send Alex an email telling him that you might be able to host him.
Oof. You got to get a bigger date.
I don't have the bandwidth. But in the last few weeks, you heard me and others bitch about the new Skype.
Yeah.
Well, they finally decided, okay, you know what?
Really?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
So I posted it in there. It says, so a few weeks ago, Microsoft launched Skype version 8.0 to replace Skype Classic or version 7. They initially said that Skype Classic would stop working on September 1st. That's when I got up and said, hey, this is going to stop. I said, oh, shoot, I'm going to have to go to the new one. But the new one is a mess. I mean, it's features that are basic to any program that you want were taken out. Today, this was last week, it extended the deadline and said it would continue to support the older application for the time being. Spotted by Brad Sims of Throw.com, the information, the information was posted as an update to a support forum that originally said when Skype version 7 would be killed off. The update says the following: based on customer feedback, we are extending support for Skype 7, Skype Classic, for some time. Our customers can continue to use Skype Classic until then. Thanks for all your comments. We're listening. We're working to bring all the features you've asked for into Skype 8. Watch this space. Now, they didn't provide a new end of life for version 7, but there's no doubt that it's still coming. And eventually, we'll have to move to Skype 8 or the UWP app if you're on Windows 10. But this is nice. And I went and I blasted them in the forum when I saw that a couple of weeks ago. And they sent an email back and they said, we would like your feedback. And there was a form. So I went and I filled it up, and they showed videos of different ways of doing it. And the first time I blasted all 3 of them because they didn't look anything like version 7. And then I said, maybe I'm not being fair. So I went and watched it again. And one of them was very close to the way it is. And I filled it again and I said, okay, here, this is it. And I went again and told them, because you couldn't comment about different things in the same form. So I did it again and talked about another feature, and did it again and did it about another feature. And it may be, I don't know, I'd like to think that it did something, but apparently a lot of people were complaining. And here it is. You can continue using it. So if you see the notice when you're using Skype that it's going to die or that you need to upgrade, at this point, I don't know if I would upgrade or not. I would not. The problem that I had while upgrading is that once I upgraded and I saw all the problems, I said, okay, I have until September 1st, so I'm going to roll it back. So I had the old version. I uninstalled the current one, the 8. But when I started the installation of 7 again, it says, no, you cannot activate this one. You cannot install it because there's a new version and the installer for this one is not good. I don't know if that's still the case. I did not try to reverse it over there because it's fine. I mean, because the way that I thought about it is over here, I would leave the old one until the last minute. But on my computer, I use it. Maybe I'll get used to it. I'll figure out ways around it. I'll figure out how to use it better. So it's okay. I'm going to leave it there. But there they go. They're going to let you use it for longer. So I'm not going to have to. I started looking at Zoom.us and other options that cost money and that are not exactly the same. If something is not broken, don't fix it. I don't know why they're trying
to put some they're trying to put some uniformity behind Skype. It looks totally different on.
It's totally what?
It looks totally different on mobile versus how it looks on the desktop.
Well, but that's the problem, is they're trying to make the new Skype for the desktop. Even they call it Skype desktop. It looks like mobile.
Because they're trying to make it all look the same so that
I
if
know.
somebody uses it on
Yeah.
their phone, they can use it on the desktop and it's the same. I get it. I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid. The implementation
Well,
sucks, but I get it.
obviously they're going to change.
Well, it's surprising that Microsoft went back on this. They're not known for doing
this is what's huge about this.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, we need to wait and see if that's really the case.
Yeah.
But it's a feel good situation to know that, okay, well, maybe they will bring these things back. I mean, the main thing that I had a problem with Skype is right now, I can have just a little pane that's about 2.5 inches wide on the right side of the screen, and it has all the contacts and the current ones. And if somebody's calling in or whatever, I don't need to see that whole screen with the chat in it. They did not make it so you can separate them like the current one does. And not only this, I said, okay, even if that pane with the contacts was on the right side, I can put it there and I can lay vMix on top of the other screen. I still see the same. But no, now this is on the left side. So it's kind of like, why?
Because it needs to be better.
And in some of the cases, like you were in the chat and you somebody said something funny and you just put a smiley. It used to be that you put a smiley later on. Now the smiley is all the way on the right side. It's indented all the way to the right.
A feature.
Huh? It's a feature, yeah. But, you say, oh, I'd like to tell Nick something about it. Oh, I already did. And I don't, again,
smileys.
It's all that mobile stuff.
Amnon, it's because you're using Hebrew there. It's
right. Yeah. Okay, something more important here, and everybody pay attention to this. Piriform, CCleaner, the people that made CCleaner that were bought by Avast, has pulled version 5.45 of its suite from the website after user expressed concern over the privacy changes in the application. We always recommend to people to get CCleaner and keep it updated. CCleaner has a feature, even if you don't pay for it, that's called monitoring. And it's sort of like an antivirus, anti-malware, that everything that's coming in, it monitors while it's going on. It slows down the machine big time. But it's there, and I always tell people just disable it. You don't need it. You have an antivirus. In version 5.5, the company made it impossible to disable active monitoring. And the privacy setting had been removed for free customers. Additionally, as Beta News reported earlier this week, Avast also made it impossible for users to quit the software. Addressing these concerns, Avast said today we have removed 545 and reverted to 544 as the main download. And sure enough, when I read this, I did not have the CCleaner in my sys-tray. Said, I'm okay. I started it was 545. I went into the monitoring, and sure enough, active monitoring was checked. So I unchecked it, and the CCleaner icon appeared in the sys-tray. So I went back in, and it was not checked, but it was down there. I said, okay, how do I remove it? I mean, I don't want to slow down the machine. I had to go to Task Manager and kill it. There was absolutely no way to close it. Right now, if you are on 544, you can enable the active monitoring, and you will have the CCleaner icon in your sys-tray on the bottom right. But you can right-click on it and exit CCleaner and stop it. It will come back again next time. Yeah, unless you go into the program and configure it. But they made it so you couldn't. So I went ahead and uninstalled it and installed 544. I mean, it's nice to see that companies are listening. I don't understand why they did it like this. I mean, they want you to run their, if you use Avast, if you don't use Avast, you use CCleaner. CCleaner will, if you don't pay attention, just like the old Adobe used to do, that said, oh, if you don't uncheck I can't remember what the program's, McAfee. If you don't have it, it will install McAfee. Here, it will install Avast antivirus if you don't have it. So if you have Avast running, which is an antivirus, anti-malware, why do you want CCleaner to run also in the background and slow down machines? What is the purpose of this? The only reason I use CCleaner is so I can remove the temp files, the cache, and everything all in one swoop. I don't use it as a ongoing preventative. For that, I have an antivirus, anti-malware. It made no sense. It makes no sense. I don't know if, again, somebody was just making decisions that they had no business making or what. But make sure, start your CCleaner and see which version. The version is in the upper left. If it's 5.45, uninstall it and go back to the website. Or even, as a matter of fact, I did not uninstall it. I just clicked on check for updates at the bottom right and went to the website, and sure enough, 544 was there. And I said, yeah, upgrade, and it went ahead and saved it, and I ran it, and it replaced it, and everything is fine. So think about that.
Man, what a process.
I mean, it's the war of who controls information. I mean, when it's on,
it's the war for your mind.
it's a war. The thing about this is that now everything is going through CCleaner, and could have been a situation where they were monitoring where were you going, because everything goes through it when you monitor.
When did
knows?
they get bought by Avast? I don't remember that.
A what?
When did they get bought by Avast?
It was bought by Avast. Oh, probably about a year. I don't remember. Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah. Who's got Bitcoin?
I do. Let's take a look.
Dozens of trading groups are manipulating the price of cryptocurrencies on some of the largest online exchanges, generating at least 825 million in trading activity over the past 6 months. What they do is they call it pump and dump. They talk a bit about it. They get you all excited. You buy it, and then they buy it. They make it look like a lot of people, and then they dump it. Be careful. But there was something else about it, that in the last 24 hours, the crypto market has recorded a loss of 18 billion with a B, as major cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ether, EOS, and Bitcoin Cash, dropped by 4 to 13%. While Bitcoin ended the day with a 4% decline, Ether, the native cryptocurrency of Ethereum, plummeted by 13% against the US dollar. So we were talking about how volatile this is. If you have a little bit of money that you just want to put into it, okay, go ahead and do it. But don't borrow money. Don't borrow thousands of dollars to buy Bitcoin. It's a problem. You were going to say, Gal.
No.
Oh, you don't remember. Sorry.
When it comes to cryptocurrency, need to activate a lot of judgment.
No. And the FCC is proposing to maintain the US broadband standard at the current level of 25 megabits down and 3 megabits up. That's the minimum. If you want to call your service broadband, you have to, it has to be at least 25 down and 3 up. The FCC chairman has kept the standard at these speeds since 2017, despite calls to raise it from Democratic Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel. This week, Pi proposed keeping the standard the same for another year. It used to be a lot slower. This is again the government regulating things like that, and it's at 25 down and 3 up is the minimum to call a service broadband.
So when Spectrum sells you a 300 megabyte download line, probably somewhere in the small prints, it's not promising the 300.
No. If you say that you're selling that this service gives you 200 down and 20 up,
right,
then that's what you should give. If you say 300 down and 20 up, that's what you should give. But if you just say,
but you usually say up to.
Wait. Yeah, I know. But if you don't specify speed, like it used to be dial-up. Dial-up did not specify speed. It was whatever your modem can do. You just had,
right.
So if you're saying that you're selling broadband and you don't specify speeds, then it has to be at least 25 by 3. If you have 10 by 1, you cannot say we sell broadband. No, you don't sell broadband. That's the situation, yeah.
Any other categories other than broadband?
Dial-up.
Those are the only two?
Yeah, I don't know if anything else.
DSL.
So the question is, did they define the ultra broadband or something like that? Like, are there certain levels? Interesting.
No.
Well, I guess the only other thing would be what 2G, 3G, and 4G have got.
But that's broadband. That's not dial-up. That's
true.
Up there, and it does have the speeds. 4G is better than many people have at home.
Yeah.
Who's using Dropbox?
We use it at the office.
Starting today, August 10th, most users of Dropbox desktop app on Linux have been receiving notifications that their Dropbox will stop syncing starting November.
Yay, Linux, the solution for all of our problems. All right, we're going to move to Linux.
Over at the look at why. Over at the Dropbox forums, Dropbox have declared that the only Linux file system supported for storage of the Dropbox sync folder starting the 7th of November will be on a clean extension 4 file system, ext4. This basically means Dropbox drops Linux support completely, as most all Linux distributions have other file system as their standard installation default nowadays. Not to mention encryption running on top of even an extension 4 file system, which wouldn't qualify as a clean extension 4 file system for Dropbox. People were complaining and saying, hey, I'm dropping Dropbox right now on Linux because I am not going to post anything if it's not encrypted. Apparently, they don't want encryption. I don't know why. It makes absolute no sense.
Well, this is a good opportunity to plug self-hosted file sharing. You talked about broadband, right?
Yeah.
Most households, even with cable, the upload rate is good enough for you to host your own files in an accessible and safe way inside a server at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about the distributed solution, decentralized solution, make your life center your home and back up to some other cloud service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of using the cloud service for your content.
And then you know that that person will get it.
Yeah, and the way to do that is hosting stuff on a home server. Sometimes it can be more expensive to set up initially, but overall, on the long run, you control all the costs, and there's no recurring costs.
Right.
So, yeah, this is the time to go back and put stuff inside your home. If people are looking for very easy solutions to put on their machines, we talked about. Remember when Mike and Spence were looking for some backup
Yep.
solutions? We discussed ResilioSync.
Mm-hmm.
ResilioSync isn't a centralized system; it's a decentralized system. Everything's hosted in your computer, and you can sync with all your other machines and laptops and mobiles and etc. So you don't need even a dedicated server for that. But definitely stop using all of these hosted cloud services. I'm trying to win myself out of them as well.
Well, it's I mean, to do it yourself is great, but I mean, for your average person, they won't know how to do it.
So
But-
an application like ResilioSync, right,
Mm-hmm.
works pretty much the same way as those other apps that allow you to sync content between, a folder to the cloud. They're very easy to set up. And
you're forgetting one major thing here, guy. I mean, we're techies.
True.
Okay. If you tell your average person run a server at home, right away they think the world can then come in and get into my private things. And you cannot convince them that there are ways to stop it. Because at that point, I mean, there are ways to stop it. I mean, you need to run a nice firewall and all that, but they don't have the ability to do this. And
Well,
they may and right away it's sort of like, when you say to somebody here, a Muslim, what comes to their head right away? A terrorist.
Right.
That's what you think. It's because we were conditioned to that. Same thing here is server at home. That means that I'm going to be exploited. And it's
Well,
not true, but it is
it's not
true.
true. Well, let's put it this way. It is true.
Yeah.
As much as it is true about what's in your cloud.
Correct.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not painting a pink picture here of it's much safer. No, it's just in your control.
Yeah.
As for the ease and whether techies or not, well, right now I'm talking to our audience, right? So if our audience will be, I don't know, 10% of our audience will be diligent enough and look something up and try to solve this on their own, and even come back to us with questions and how do I actually do that, and we help them, then maybe we can spread a little bit of this a bit further. But eventually, I think this is going to have to be a solution.
Well,
Hey, I see a future when you go buy a home and and the builder, they say, and you have a home server already built in. You just need to install your software, right? I wish that would be the case.
Yeah.
That home server is going to be controlled by the federal government. All right, they're going to be looking at all your products, finding out what you're saying.
No, but I'm going to install Linux.
By the way, our number 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype, and you're welcome to call in, make comments, ask questions, participate. Participate. Here's something troubling. A security flaw in the Comcast Xfinity online portal exposed social security numbers and partial home addresses of more than 26.5 million subscribers. I mean, I don't remember when I set up my Time Warner account in the beginning. I don't remember giving them social security. Maybe I did. Why do
Yeah.
they need to have social security numbers?
They run a credit check on you.
Yep.
Then why do they keep it?
That's beyond me, because it's not like something that you can edit or change
This,
or anything.
I just thought about something. I accept credit cards for monthly recurring charges.
Mhm.
When you run a credit card, you have to have the CVV number, those 3 digits, they're always
Yeah.
asking you. If you store this number
Mhm.
on your computer, my computer,
Yeah.
my license or my permit to accept is going to be revoked.
Right.
I'm not going. It is against. I don't know that it's against the law, but it's against their rules to keep
Contract,
the
yeah.
CVV number on the computer anywhere, encrypted or not. So you run it once, and after that, they accept the charges every month. It's okay, even if you don't have it.
Mhm.
Why can't they do the same thing with the social security number if they want to do that? Somebody has to come with a rule and say, you are not allowed to store social security numbers on your computer. If you need it again, you need to call the customer and ask him for it.
That is exactly what the European Union did.
Really?
That's GDPR. That's the whole idea of setting rules of what can, what cannot be,
On
and
your-
what and on top of everything, giving the citizen control about whether it can be removed or not. So a citizen, a EU citizen, and this is true worldwide, right, contacts a company and says, I want my data, I want a complete report on my data, and I want it completely removed from your systems, right? They
Yeah.
have a very limited time. I don't remember, it's like 2 days or 3 days or something like that in which time they need to provide the report and remove everything.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
if not, they are exposed to fines to up to I don't remember if it was millions or billions of dollars, euros. Yeah, that's the whole big deal of GDPR. This is government regulation, right? That is affecting the privacy of its citizens directly in a good way.
Right. I mean, I'm not for government regulations, but in this case here, the companies are not doing a job. They're not protecting me. Then, and I can't get them to do anything about it. Then, yeah, the government should come in and say, look, can't do that. And especially after all these breaches,
They should be stored in offline databases if they're going
they
to keep
should
them. Which
not. They have.
I mean, I got you. They're not going to
Yeah.
keep, but they're going to
Yeah.
keep. So if you're going to keep them, just put it in an offline database. I mean, that
Right.
seems like you don't need to check somebody's credit once they've got a service with you.
I mean,
You're
I
good.
don't have the software that does the billing every month is obviously internet based. But I go, I do the billing. My daughter comes do the billing. She knows how to connect it to the internet. When she's done, it's disconnected from the internet. There's no reason for it to be there. It's sort of like offline. You can't get to it unless right then when we're doing the billing, or if I even if when I enter charges, it's not connected to the internet. So it's connected to the internet for about 15 minutes every month. Only
And
because
you're hackable in that 15 minutes.
I don't have to do this, but it gives me peace of mind to know that my customers who trust me with their information are protected. There's no way. I mean, even because I don't know, somebody may break into my computer, even though I have all those safeguards and Visa and MasterCard are testing you every months, and you have to prove this and prove that, and they come in and scan and they try to prod. It still doesn't mean that somebody else is not going to be able to get in. But Social Security numbers? You need my Social Security number for a stupid Comcast account? Okay, yeah, for a credit check. All right, fine. But then once you're done, do away with it. Delete it.
Yep.
That's what I do. That I go and I put the CVV number. I do the new customers charges. I go afterwards and I remove it. I don't know.
Yep.
And guess what? Facebook is going to be bigger than YouTube in the next 2 to 3 months. Right now, the top 5 most visited websites in the US are Google, Facebook, YouTube, Yahoo, and Amazon. In that order. But Facebook monthly page visits are declining rapidly from 8.5 billion to 4.7 billion in the last 2 years, which could shake up that order. They're saying that YouTube is going to pass them. Well, why do people still maintain a Yahoo account? I don't understand that. I really
Yahoos.
don't. And by the way, remember we were talking about all these scams where you get an email that says that they had a camera, you went to a porn site, and they had a camera and they recorded you and they give you your password. They put a password that you recognize. Or now there was something about, we got into your email account and we changed the password. If you want to be able to change it back, send us this money. And one of my customer called about this, and I said, they can't change the password. I mean, can you change the password? He said, no. I said, well, how can somebody else change the password? No, you got the email. If they changed the password, you wouldn't have gotten the email, but they were trying different things. But I'm getting them. I got probably about 6 or 7 so far. Last one I got, remember last week, Nick, I said I dropped LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
I deleted my LinkedIn account.
Good for you.
The next day, I got one of those emails, and I put characters in my password that identify where it's from. If I get something back, or it was my LinkedIn password.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you.
So do you think they maliciously sold your
I
information?
don't know. No, I don't think so. But let me rephrase. It was all the characters that were in my LinkedIn, but 4 of them were the last 3 characters were actually the first 3. But if you just took them, it was perfect, and it's not a simple password. So. But then I thought, oh, yeah, but LinkedIn was broken into some time ago, too. The first round was everybody that was on Yahoo. That's why I started talking about this. If you were on Yahoo, I mean, you see the password. Most people use the same password. Shame on you. But you see a password that you are familiar with, or that it is your password, and you say, oh, yeah, that email must be true. So, yeah, one of my customers, a lady, a doctor, called and said, I just got an email with my password in it that said that I went to a porn site and they recorded me. I said, well, stop going to porn sites. And she said, I'm serious now. I said, no, it's a scam.
I was about to ask for, the URL. I gotta see your pictures, man.
They're going to ask for a medical recommendation.
Delta Force Porn.
We shut down on the internet. Blocked by CenturyLink.
Yeah. Anything happening in the chat that I should be aware of? Hmm.
John's just saying, why does a site need to store a copy of the credit card and all that information when it's a one-time purchase? It's because look at Snapchat. What were they bought for? Or Instagram was bought for what? $1 billion based off user data. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why they store it, so they can, when they sell or when there's a possibility of them being acquired or something, they've got all the data.
Yeah, that's why they buy.
But those cells, that's not the credit card information.
No, it's not, but it's there.
It's always storing credit cards, always for the convenience of the customer.
Yeah.
Right? But you need to be very diligent about saving that.
Right.
And I think most of the places at least allow you not to store it or to remove it after you've made use of it.
Oh.
I agree. It's shady tactics in a commerce site to do that, but like storing it automatically. But when they advertise convenience, then and we're already conditioned to to allow that, we're okay with it.
Well,
right?
there is a solution for this. I don't know if you ever heard of privacy.com before.
Say it again. Say it again.
Privacy, PRIVACY, privacy.com.
I haven't.
You pay them something. I don't know what it is.
Oh, virtual cards.
You essentially just generate credit cards for individual services. So you can create a service for if you've got like Hulu and Netflix and something else and PlayStation View, you create a credit card called the TV, and you only put those 3 services on.
Yeah.
Or you could do one for each individual service or whatever it may be. It's kind of a neat little concept. I don't know about the pricing, and I don't really know how practical it is because it's kind of a pain in the ass to use.
Exactly.
But if you're super into the whole privacy thing and not having your information out there, this is it's not very expensive from what I remember. I've seen it in a YouTube video. This is probably one of your best solutions.
Well, I mean, if you have a way of paying to a certain service or a commerce site through a third party processing like PayPal or Amazon or something like that, that would usually be better than trusting the site's security measures, because you know that PayPal and Amazon are probably more secure than the others, but it's still centralized.
Yeah.
This is a decentralized way of doing it, but you need to do the tracking of these numbers. It's like what happens when you call them for service and they ask you for the last 4 digits of your card, right? Suddenly you're scrabbling for some identification number that you don't have. It's a neat idea, but I think the card suppliers themselves, MasterCard and Visa, they had programs like that at the beginning, and it never caught, never really, never successful.
This lets you do cool stuff too, like limiting it to a certain dollar amount per charge, or per month. Like for example, they show us this demo account has got a subscription for Spotify. The spending limit is $15 a month. Spotify subscription is $15 a month or $14 a month.
Yeah,
So,
and if they start charging more, it just blocks.
It'll just decline. It'll decline the transaction. So it's interesting. I've seen this on a couple people talk about this on YouTube before. I may take a look at this. They changed their website. They used to have pricing available. I don't know where that all went.
If you're using Thunderbird, or if you used to use Thunderbird and thought that they stopped making it or supporting it, Thunderbird version 60, featuring a number of new features and changes, is now available as direct download from Thunderbird.net. It's been developed and supported for the last few years, and a lot of people didn't know. So it is. You can go to Thunderbird.net and download it, and maybe you're gonna like it better than what you're using right now. Another quick thing: Facebook wants your financial data.
Oh, great.
The social media giant has asked large U.S. banks to share detailed financial information about their customers, including card transactions and checking account balances, as part of an effort to offer new services to users. And that's coming from the Wall Street Journal. They actually went to some of the large banks and asked them for that information. Just like
Right.
a few months ago, they were asking hospitals for patient information. What the hell?
Hold on. I'm trying to understand what they asked for. The fact that they asked for patient information means they wanted stats about patient movement, right? Not names and not what they're sick with.
No. They wanted to know
statistics.
Back then, they wanted it so they will know what services to offer. I mean, you have Parkinson's, you have this. Here, we have these links for you to look at. Because no, they wanted information so they can match people with services that they need.
But by law, they cannot even get that information. So that's why I'm thinking the.
No, Gal, you're missing the whole thing. They went. They did not get it, but they asked. Which this is the thing. I mean, the banks did not give it to them either. I hope not. You know,
So, look, I all agree that Facebook and Google, they're all companies about big data,
right?
About computing and trying to understand each individual from its slew of huge amount of data that they're collecting about them.
Right.
Okay, that's okay. I understand that that's their model. And I can also understand, and you correct me here because I didn't read the article.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did either.
Well,
but so going to a hospital and asking for stats about patients with different categories, that makes sense. Even though it's not something they did until now, they're about data and about computing that, and they want to add another aspect. I can understand that. The question is, because if anyone comes to your business now, Amnon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even the police, right?
Yeah.
And they're asking you, do you have an account for Nick?
Yeah.
You are not even supposed to answer that.
I will not answer it unless they have a warrant.
Right. And even with a warrant, right, it's very limited in what they're gonna get from you.
Right.
They're giving you a heads up first before you tell them.
So the whole idea of asking for what you're saying, like in the terms, that doesn't sound plausible.
I'm not saying this. I'm not claiming this or anything. All I'm doing is reading a report.
No, reading. So that's why I'm asking if you read the article. Because
I read the article, but they, of course, they can't get into details. It's the Wall Street Journal reported this.
So to me it sounds like they're interested in analyzing data about how hospitals work and patients work within them, but they will never get patient information. I don't think they were even asking.
No, right? They obviously asked, but they never got it, and hopefully they will not get it. They're saying that they were all this, including card transaction and checking account balances, is part of an effort to offer new services to users. What services? If they see that somebody has $2 in their balance in the bank, and they're keeping that kind of, they're going to say, okay, we need to send them credit card companies that will offer. I mean, I don't know what they had in mind.
Example. That's an absolutely great example.
But I don't even want to get into that point. I'm what bothers me that they even asked, that they have the goal to ask. Hopefully the companies have enough rules not to give it to them, and I know they do. But it's ridiculous. Gal, if you find something out, let us know. But it's time of day again. Anything else anybody wants to add anywhere here? No?
Well, we know where Spence is. What happened to Mike?
Mike had to go to his daughter's to do some handyman work to help her.
Okay.
Yeah, he did send. See, you so you don't use Skype, do you?
No, not really.
Yeah. See, that's where everything.
I left Skype the moment there were other alternatives.
Yeah. So Mike explained last night why he may be late or he may not be here at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So I guess that's it. That was fun.
Yeah, hopefully the globalists let us continue this transmission for next week. After all of this information talk going on, they might try to shut us down. So we hopefully will be
Is
back.
this going to dominate your show tonight?
Oh, I'm already writing my monologue. It's going to be great.
All right. Is he a guest on your show?
Yeah, I mean, I can do his impersonation. I won't now. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all.
Oh boy.
Thanks.
I'm myself. I'm not a big fan. I never listened to a whole show
Oh, you're
of
missing
Alex
out.
Jones. I mean, I just hear little bits and pieces, and I don't know. But yeah, that was. No, never mind. Let's not get into it. All right, Gal. Anything you wanted to add here?
No.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. And I want to thank Sri for being here at 9:00 like he promised. That was good. Go and check BeBopSensors.com. But Gal, Nick, thank you. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Dana. Thanks everybody for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook. Tonight at 7, Nick is hosting Against the Norm on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM, and anybody anywhere in the world can listen to it on TuneIn. See you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.